You are freezing while walking directly on a frozen river to get to your morning job in minus 40 degrees Celsius. You are paying around 150,000 rubles, which translates to a mind-blowing 1,600 bucks just to rent a basic modern apartment in the capital, while the average provincial worker makes a third of that amount in a whole month. You are riding the most beautiful underground metro system in the world that literally looks like a royal palace with crystal chandeliers. You are expected to buy a massive bouquet of exactly an odd number of flowers for your date, because an even number brings terrible luck and is strictly reserved for funerals. This is Russia. This is the series where we live an entire lifetime from birth to death in different magnificent countries around the globe. Will you be able to survive purely on a standard state salary without starving in the harsh winter? How exactly do modern couples navigate the strictly traditional dating rules to find true love? Is getting a completely free university degree actually possible for an average teenager? And what happens when a young guy receives a chilling mandatory military draft notice in his mailbox? We are living this chaotic life through the eyes of two completely different people. To fully grasp the contrast, first is Anastasia. She is born into a wealthy, high-status family in the glittering capital city, Moscow. Her father is a wealthy, top-tier corporate executive, and her mother owns a highly profitable chain of luxury beauty salons. Then we have Mikhail. He is born into a low-income, working-class family in Saratov, a harsh industrial city on the Volga River. His father works long hours at a local heavy manufacturing plant, and his mother is a cashier at a discount grocery store. We will track their journeys step by step, covering their early childhood living conditions, the intense public education system, mandatory military service, university financial struggles, career climbing, dating expectations, and eventually their retirement years. Country context. There are roughly 144 million people living here. The total land area is an absolutely staggering 17 million square kilometers, making it the largest nation on Earth by far. Your statistical chance of being born here is about 1.8%. It uniquely spans across 11 different full time zones. It holds 20% of the world's unfrozen fresh water in a single massive lake called Baikal. Honestly, looking at those massive, vast landscapes on a map always makes me feel incredibly tiny and adventurous. The extreme climate shifts from warm subtropical pebble beaches in the south to northern places where boiling water turns to ice instantly when you throw it in the air. Childhood. Anastasia grows up in a spacious premium apartment heavily guarded by security in central Moscow. Her parents hold high elite status, easily securing her a spot in an expensive private kindergarten by the early age of 3. Mikhail lives in a cramped, slightly decaying brutalist-style concrete building in Saratov. His working-class parents simply do not have extra money, sending him to a standard free state kindergarten at age 3. Anastasia gets organic meals, swimming pools, and early English-speaking lessons. Mikhail eats standard government-funded oatmeal porridge and plays in heavy metal playgrounds completely covered in thick winter snow. School. Both begin their academic suffering at exactly 7 years old. A major cultural difference here is September 1st, officially known as the Day of Knowledge, where absolutely everyone dresses up in strict business suits and brings expensive flower bouquets to their homeroom teachers. Preparing Mikhail for the first grade costs his parents around 15,000 rubles, sitting at about $160, which is a massive, depressing hit to their tight monthly budget. Anastasia attends an elite private school costing nearly 1 million rubles a year, roughly equivalent to 10,500 United States dollars. Man, I cannot even fathom spending 10 grand a year just for a kid to learn basic math. Mikhail's normal day starts at 7 in the morning, aggressively walking through freezing wind to a crowded public school. They sit through exactly 6 to 7 45-minute lessons. Mikhail spends his free time kicking a worn-out ball in the concrete courtyards with neighborhood boys, while Anastasia is aggressively shuttled between expensive private tutors, grand piano lessons, and elite rhythmic gymnastics clubs until the evening. Graduation requires passing a terrifying national test in the 11th grade. The pressure is psychologically crushing, as this single test rigidly defines your entire university future. Army. Mikhail turns 18 and immediately faces the mandatory 1-year military conscription. It is strictly for men. Women are entirely exempt from the draft. Because his family has absolutely no money or governmental connections to legally avoid it, he shaves his head and serves 12 long months in a remote snowy base far away from home. Anastasia does not even have to think about this harsh reality. University. Anastasia scores average on her exams, but her parents simply pull out their wallets and pay 500,000 rubles annually, about 5,300 USD, for her to attend the highly prestigious university in Moscow. She lives very comfortably in a high-end rented studio, eating at trendy organic cafes. Mikhail studies relentlessly, scores perfectly on his exams, and organically secures a rare state-funded budget spot at a local technical university, meaning his tuition is entirely free. He moves into a decaying student dormitory packed with loud roommates. He somehow survives on a tiny state stipend of 3,000 rubles, a mere 32 American dollars per month, forcing him to work exhausting night shifts as a food delivery courier just to afford basic frozen dumplings and instant noodles. The societal pressure to get a higher education diploma is insanely high. Without one, society forcefully labels you as a complete failure. Career. Finding a good first job takes months of brutal corporate interviews. Mikhail finally gets an engineering job in Saratov with a starting salary of 60,000 rubles, roughly translating to $640 per month. He strictly works a standard 9-to-5 schedule 5 days a week. Anastasia steps right into a comfortable marketing management role through her father's tight business connections, luxuriously starting at 150,000 rubles, boldly pocketing around 1,600 bucks. Renting a decent one-bedroom place in Moscow would cost Anastasia almost her entire salary if her parents did not buy her a luxury flat outright, while Mikhail pays 20,000 rubles, or 210 USD, just to rent a modest apartment. Mikhail literally spends 50% of his income on cheap groceries, 20% on rent, and the rest on public transport, leaving absolutely zero savings. I would personally go completely crazy living paycheck to paycheck like that with no safety net. Finding love. Dating here remains heavily traditional. Men are absolutely physically expected to pay for every single dinner, aggressively open doors, and bring lavish flowers. Modern couples usually meet through mutual friends, university clubs, or popular digital dating apps. Women often actively look for financial stability, confidence, and social status in a man to ensure future family survival, while men highly prioritize physical appearance, personal grooming, and traditional femininity. There are significantly more adult women than men overall, largely due to male life expectancy being drastically lower from hazardous jobs and poor lifestyle choices. Showing off your successful relationship status on internet platforms is basically visually mandatory to prove you are doing well in life. Marriage deeply happens young, usually around 24 years old. A standard basic wedding instantly costs about 500,000 rubles, equating to $5,300, usually plunging the young newlyweds into deep consumer debt. They boldly take out a punishing 20-year mortgage with brutal double-digit interest rates to finally buy an empty concrete apartment. Couples usually have 1 or maybe 2 kids maximum. The maternity leave is incredibly generous by global standards, safely lasting up to 3 fully paid years, though husbands almost never take it due to heavy traditional cultural stigma. Retirement. The daily endless grind heavily damages their physical health by the time they reach official retirement, which tragically sits at 65 for men and 60 for women. The state pension is an aggressively grim 20,000 rubles a month, exactly $210 in today's money. Unless you have successful children willingly financially supporting you, or massive secret savings under your mattress, surviving on this tiny pension means eating only bread, cheap potatoes, and drinking hot tea while staying indoors during the brutal winter just to eagerly save on heavy heating bills. It is a wildly harsh reality check after 40 decades of hard labor for your country. Conclusion. Between the luxurious, comfortable, heavily funded path of the elite capital city and the incredibly gritty, character-building survival struggle of the freezing industrial provinces, which life would you actually want to experience?